Lately I've been browsing, treading water that they drowning. My head on a swivel, yeah. It's only really my surroundings.
Hello and welcome to episode 231 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. I got a big smile on my face because today, honestly, man, not just it's my birthday, but I am doing 15 Smash Accept drafts. 14 rookie, Smash Accept 15 startup. It is like, man, it is the best feeling to just be out there grinding with you guys, talking shop, and then nothing better than adding the icing to the cake, chopping it up with Snoog, man. How you doing, brother?
First off, happy birthday. Starting off the week strong.
That's right, baby.
My birthday's on Friday, so it's a big birthday week for the Smash crew, but I'm excited, man. I mean, we knew a lot of this stuff was going to happen, but we also didn't know what a lot of this stuff was going to happen. I would have put a lot of money if you told me Leggett and Pearsall went in round one. I would have looked at you like you had three heads. If you told me Worthy and Brian Thomas were wide receiver 4 and 5 off the board, though, we would have confirmed that. We knew that was going to happen. So I'm excited. I mean, we got so much to talk about here. So many risers. There's guys that we didn't think would ever be valued like they are. Penix, Bo Nix, they were top 12 picks. So I'm excited to dive into this and kind of help break down who are the risers you need to target.
Yeah, today's show, that's what we're talking about, baby. We're talking about risers to draft that you can actually smash on your draft day. I mean, there has been we created a new window, right? There was trade windows before the NFL draft. Now there's new trade windows. There's guys that you can start to, extract value by playing the market. Like today, I'm in all these rookie drafts. I'm going to share some of the trades that I've made. I know you've been making some trades. We're talking about get your guys. Snoog and I have had our guys from day one. And, a lot of that got validation, Snoog, is the guys that we were hyping up, the guys that we really like, the Xavier Worthies, the Ladd McConkeys, the Brian Thomas Juniors, those guys ended up going places we wanted, and I think there's some landing spots. We're going to get into that. But let's talk about the first riser. And this sounds crazy, right? To say that the 101 Caleb Williams is a riser, but Snoog, I have moved him to my QB7. I know you're going to hate it because I moved him over Justin Herbert. I'm doing my rankings right now, so no better time to join the Patreon. All the rankings are going to be updated. But, dude, you look at it. Caleb Williams was the 101. Now he's worth more than that after your draft because the Bears go out, they draft Rome Odunze. They have surrounded him with weapons galore. I mean, we've talked about it before. There's no other option at the 101. Marvin got a good landing spot, but, man, Caleb Williams' stock right now is through the roof. And I think we've closed a lot of gaps where if I can get a late first on top of Caleb Williams for CJ Stroud, I'm going to do it. And I know you might think that's crazy, but we've never had a quarterback set up like this. You look at what Mahomes had early and Josh Allen and CJ Stroud and these guys, they did not have this kind of weapons. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, now Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, this offense and the offensive line got a little bit of help. Caleb Williams, the sky is the limit right now. And if you're on the 101, you should be trading for an elite level asset or taking him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is in the best situation that we've ever seen a rookie quarterback get thrown into. I mean, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, decent offensive line, DeAndre Swift. Like, this is a quarterback's dream to be playing for the Chicago Bears. And that's crazy to say because I don't think they've had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards ever. So, I mean, Caleb Williams, he's going to be that first quarterback that throws for 4,000 yards, probably 5,000 yards at some point. I'm a big Justin Herbert believer. Caleb jumped him for me, and it's that easy. He's my QB7 as well. I think Kyler jumped Herbert as well. I think both those guys, QB7, QB. It's nothing against Herbert, but fantasy football is weapons. Who are your weapons around you? How can you thrive? How can you succeed and put up fantasy points? And the Cardinals are going to be playing from behind a shit ton, and I can guarantee you that the Bears are going to be playing a ton of fun football and throwing the ball a shit ton. So those guys firmly above Herbert for me. Caleb Williams, man, it felt good to smash draft him in a $200 league.
Yeah, I mean, I set up all the rookie drafts, all the clocks, all the ones where I had 101. I started the draft a little bit early and put it on pause, and I just smashed it ahead of time. I wanted to be that first guy to go out there and just say, you know what? I'm getting Caleb Williams. I can't pass on this kind of value. Snoog, right now, I mean, I'm in an area where I'm not moving him above Joe Burrow. I'm not moving him above Stroud or Lamar. But, man, if I can get some plus there, you know, I saw 3 different of my leagues where guys gave up the 101 plus the 19 to 112 for Joe Burrow. I'll smash that. If I can get Xavier Worthy and Caleb Williams for Joe Burrow's 27, coming off a sketchy kind of season. Caleb Williams, 22, and this is the next guy. You know, this is the guy you got to invest in. He's got the best situation we've ever seen. I know you and I have talked about him a ton, so we don't need to go too much. But the 102 just rose in stock as well. Marvin Harrison Jr., we knew this, right? A lot of people were criticizing me on Twitter, like, what do you mean Marvin Harrison Jr. jumped in value? He could have went anywhere. You know, they could have traded back. They could have done that. Pairing Marvin Harrison Jr. with Kyler Murray is just a match made in heaven. You know, he is my dynasty wide receiver 5. You can even debate having him as high as 4 right now. And I think this is for Kyler Murray, 2020 DeAndre Hopkins. That's the last time he's had an elite level wide receiver like this, when he had DeAndre Hopkins at a healthy state in the prime of his career, 1,400 yards, 10 plus touchdowns. And now we're going to see that with Marvin Harrison Jr. for years to come. This is that. I tell everybody, if you're gonna, not take Caleb 101, it has to be a team where you have Kyler and you have another elite level, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes type. But this stack is going to be the dream stack. You know, it's like Burrow, Chase. It's right there. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 of this class now. As much as you and I both love Malik Nabers, the landing spot, at least for the time being, is absolutely perfect for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nobody he's competing with targets besides Trey McBride, and I think they're going to complement each other well. I mean, Marv thrives downfield, thrives in the contested catch areas. I mean, he can win in every single way on the football field. That stack, I have it in that $200 league. I also have Caleb and Rome Odunze stack, so it's feeling good. I'm excited. I mean, Marv, clear-cut 102. In 10-team formats, I think you could argue taking Marv at the 101 if it's like a 10-team 4-point passing.
4-point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you could take Marv there, but otherwise I think it's firmly Caleb. But Marv is right away top 5 dynasty wide receiver. And there's upside there, right? He's on this contract for potentially 5 years with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is known for being a very good passer. I mean, with D-Hop, with Marquise Brown, he fed them as well. So Marv's in for a good season and a good rookie year.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to move from the 103 to the 102. You know, like there was a time where we were talking about in rookie drafts, hey, these guys, I still have Nabers and Harrison in the same tier for the draft itself, but the value has separated. And there was a time where you could have moved up and you could have gotten into position to get yourself there. Now that window has closed because Malik Nabers goes to the Giants. And a lot of people right now, and this makes no sense to me, I have seen him. I got guys in the Patreon. Hey, I'm at the 107 and Malik Nabers fell. What? Wait, what? Like, this is still a generational type talent. A guy that goes as early as he did, inside the top 8 picks, very rarely miss. And everybody said, but Daniel Jones. Okay, all right. Daniel Jones has never had a wide receiver like this. I feel like we're going to see Malik Nabers very similar to what we saw from OBJ rookie season in 2014. Absolutely peppered, 120 plus targets for me. I am firmly still smashing at the 103, and he's not a riser, but we have to talk about it. There is a gap now, clearly, between Marvin and Nabers, but at this point, I am still very happy. And I told you I just recently made a trade where I moved from the 102 to the 103, added the 108, and the 203, and I threw him back Romeo Doubs. It's like there is that much of a perception right now, Snoog, where you can move from 2 to 3 and get a first yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Rome Odunze's career is going to get close to Nabers just because of the situation being tied to Caleb Williams. I think if you're looking to take Nabers and you have by no means, Malik Nabers, my clear wide receiver 2 pre-draft, but situations matter for fantasy points, right? I mean, from a talent perspective, I think Nabers is right there with Marv, and I think there's a little bit of a gap. Then there's Rome. but he's tied to Caleb Williams. Neighbors has Daniel Jones, right? So, I mean, it's tough because I think the opportunity, the targets are going to be there in New York, but I don't know if they're going to be premium targets like Jamar
Correct.
Chase saw. I think it's going to be more like 150 targets. Garrett Wilson, 50 of them are skyrocketed over your head. So there's a difference.
What I'm seeing, and if you guys haven't listened to this, we just did a pod a couple days ago with PF, a roster evaluation, a draft prep. Snoog and I are doing those to help you guys out now. So hit us up in the DMs if you're interested in that. What I told him with Neighbors is, this is Garrett Wilson again, right? This is the same level talent where even with a Zach Wilson, with a Daniel Jones, the catchable targets are not necessarily going to be there. But Snoog, what did we see when Aaron Rodgers moved to the Jets? Garrett Wilson's stock went through the roof. And then he didn't play, but he still produced at a level over 1,000 yards. You know, like, they aren't going to be beautiful targets. It's not going to be, his catchable targets aren't going to be the same as what Rome Odunze is. It's certainly not going to be the same as what Marvin Harrison is. But buy any dip you can right now, honestly, on Malik Neighbors, because if they go out and they draft a quarterback in 2025 or they sign, there are 4 or 5 major names who are not signed yet who, you know, I doubt they get to free agency, but if one of those guys leaves their premium situation, or, you know, we get a trade situation where Kirk Cousins decides he doesn't want to be a 1A, 1B quarterback with the Falcons. No, that ain't going to happen. But we get a trade scenario. Someone's going to upgrade. And Daniel Jones was serviceable in 2020 and 2021.
Yep.
You know, like, so it's not, or 2021, I think it was. So I can see a scenario where he's there. He's not the big stock riser or faller, but you know who is at the quarterback position? And I know you and I were not huge on him during the process, but you cannot doubt J.J. McCarthy now. J.J. McCarthy is my 105 super flex. I'm taking him after Jaden Daniels, but I'm taking him before Drake May. I know that's not big for you, but honestly, Jefferson, Hockenson, Addison, Aaron Jones, need I say more? I mean, he's moved into the dream landing spot that we wanted Drake May to go. You know, we wanted any of these quarterbacks to go. And he's in a system right now with a poor defense, an offense that is set to thrive, and a decent offensive line. I think J.J. McCarthy is an absolute buy. I'm not going to have a ton of them because I don't have a lot of guys in that 5 area. I was moving them up to get Caleb, to get Marvin. I might even move back a little bit. But this 5 to 8 tier right now is a very flat tier that if you can get any kind of value, I mean, you got McCarthy, you got May, Bowers, Odunze, they're all in that 5 to 8 range. I'm comfortable with any of them. But if you can go up and you can say, hey, you know, who wants McCarthy here at 5? I think you can get a little bit extra because of that Minnesota landing spot, because the Vikings are talking about, you know, re-upping Justin Jefferson's contract, which is in the works now. You know, like, he wanted a quarterback, they got him a quarterback, and I think we have another pairing here where that's a stack that I want to own.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, pre-draft, we were talking about my comp for J.J. McCarthy was Brock Purdy, and I think his ceiling was like a 49ers Brock Purdy. Well, newsflash, that's exactly what he's going to be, right? He's going to be that guy that throws for 4,000 yards if he hits his ceiling. He's going to have 30, 33 touchdowns, 35 touchdowns on a really, really good year if he hits, with elite weapons around him. And his weapons are even better than the 49ers. I mean, he's got Addison, the best wide receiver in the NFL, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, top 3 tight end, good offensive line, good head coach, good scheme, very, very scheme friendly for a quarterback. And Aaron Jones, they're probably going to bring in some more help, hopefully, for running back. I think this is a perfect world for J.J. McCarthy to thrive. Like, if he was a Giant, he probably wouldn't have been anything. If he was a Pat, he probably wouldn't have been anything. He's a good pro caliber quarterback, in my opinion. And I mean, I don't think it's going to be surprising if he's a better pro than Jaden Daniels. I firmly believe that. Like, there's a chance he's a better pro. Yeah,
this isn't it. And he has that. So Jaden Daniels, the difference for me. And I think he's also not necessarily a riser, but the fact that he went to the Commanders instead of the Patriots is huge, because we wanted quarterbacks to go to the Commanders or the Vikings. Nobody wanted to see a quarterback go to the Patriots. You know, it just is what it is. Someone had to. I think Daniels gives you roughly an 800 rushing yard upside, maybe 1,000 with a floor of 600. I think J.J. McCarthy, people don't realize, is pretty good at running himself. I mean, I feel like he is the type of quarterback that gets a nice 400 rushing yard floor every season, where we see him scramble, we see a couple design runs, and this offense is going to put up points. I mean, Kirk Cousins, before his injury, was a top 5 quarterback. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to say J.J. McCarthy could have a top 15 quarterback season as a rookie because of the system, because of the weapons, because of the rushing floor, and I think that's an interesting spot. Jaden Daniels, you're right. I think he has a little bit more of that boom bust. I think the boom ceiling is Lamar Light. He could easily throw for 30 touchdowns and rush for 800 yards. Or we could see a Justin Fields type situation with, because of his frame, because of the offensive line, not quite in that same area. But I think J.J. McCarthy is a smash if you can't move around. And Snoop, that's the biggest thing I'm getting right now from guys is like, I can't move in this rookie draft, right? And I keep telling everybody, I was like, if you can't, get creative. Like, people struggle with that. And we've been talking about it a lot in the Patreon. Yesterday alone on draft day, no lie, between comments, spots in there, and DMs, I answered 170 plus questions. I was sitting there, I was like, yo, guys, let's do this, let's do that. How do we construct a trade? And people struggle with that. You're like, well, he doesn't want the 105 and a second for the 103. Okay, well then, where else can you make that move, right? Like, you want to move up to these areas. You got to say, I don't really want DeAndre Hopkins. He's a contender. Let's use Hopkins in a second. Let's start using some of these guys that are going to depreciate in value. A James Conner type, a guy that you're like, I don't really need him on my roster. Let's move him. For me today, it was Romeo Doubs. I was like, let's sweeten this up with Romeo Doubs. Am I going to start him ever? Probably not. Maybe once or twice a year. And most fantasy managers are like, well, I gotta make sure I have that depth there. I gotta have that Romeo Doubs. I gotta have that Wan'Dale Robinson. You don't need that Josh Downs. You take Josh Downs, whose stock I think fell a little bit, and you use him to move from 108 to 105, and then add a second in there, and then you get the quarterback you want. 5 to 8 is so tricky. It's positional. You got to look at who's drafting. You got to say, well, I have no problem if you're loaded at quarterback going Rome at 5. I got no problem if it's 0.75 going Brock Bowers at 5. I have no problem if you were, a Patriots type guy and you believe in the talent of Drake May at 5. I have no problem with McCarthy at 5. That's the biggest thing. We have this area here where you get anything on top, it's based on what you need and it's based on what you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed that. And that's what it all comes down to. It's always just like, I'm seeing people drafting Drake May 103, 104 in leagues, and then I see people getting him 107, 108 in leagues. So it's all about the league, right?
I saw 110.
Every single league I'm in, I've seen Malik Neighbors 103, and I see people getting them 105, 106, 104. I'm like, lucky you guys, because in my leagues, everyone's just sticking and picking their neighbors at 3. So it's all on the league. I think you can make a case for any of these guys. It honestly comes down to like who's the cheapest for me after like Malik, Caleb, and Marv. It's like, okay, now who can I get at like that 7-8 spot? It's usually Ben Rome or it's Ben Brock for me.
Yeah.
But if you can get like I've gotten Drake at 106. I've gotten JJ McCarthy. I've seen go 108. Like those are the values you want there. Like whoever goes 4 and 5, it's just like I can move back and I can get someone that's probably I like better. Like, so I've been just trying to stay out of that 4 or 5 range
and
stay in that 6 to 8.
I told you I just made that trade where I moved from 102 to 103, moved back and got the 108. 108 on the clock right now is JJ McCarthy, and everybody's making me offers. I just, Rome went 5, Brock went 6, Drake went 7. I don't need anything, but McCarthy's there at 8, and I feel like everywhere you can, whoever that 8 is a smash. Like 9 and 10 are really, really nice with the 2 wide receivers that have gone up in value. But if you have 8, and a lot of people are like, Dad, I want to move up from 8 before they know what's going on, just sit there because your guy might fall to you at 8. Like a lot of you are like, well, I want to move up from McCarthy. He just fell to 8 for me. Some people are saying, I want to move up to Rome Odunze. Just look at the clock, see what we have on there. We got a question here from They Call Me Young. Gut feeling, guys. Do we take Brian Thomas Jr. or Xavier Worthy at 109? I'm going to let you go first on this because I think both of these guys, both Brian Thomas Jr. and Xavier Worthy, rose in stock. Not for their actual rookie draft value, but their overall value. And Snoop, we're seeing that a lot, right? Caleb Williams went up, but he was still the 101, but he's worth more than what he was before that. Marvin Harrison, JJ McCarthy, 9 and 10, they also went up in value. So this draft class is loaded. You know, you got Brian Thomas Jr. going to the Jags as the clear-cut wide receiver one, probably the best alpha type wide receiver that Trevor Lawrence has had in a long time. You know, he's had those guys that are short but can't stretch the field. Xavier Worthy. Oh, man, Xavier Worthy goes to the Chiefs. My Bills could have had him, man. The Bills were there, and they're like, let's trade back. We don't even need to talk about the Bills right now. PPR tips, love his content. He put Brian Thomas Jr. I'm on the Brian Thomas Jr. train as well. Tell me why it's Xavier Worthy for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we look at both of these situations, Xavier Worthy's long-term situation's much better. Tied to Patrick Mahomes, in the hands of Andy Reid. Travis Kelce's on his way out. Marquise Brown's on a one-year deal. He's also learning alongside Marquise Brown. He's probably going to do a ton of training with him. This is a guy that is very similar frame, very similar style of play, that good route runner, that elite deep threat, good after the catch. And Rashee Rice is suspended. Like, who knows what's going on with him. But if you really look at, how Rashee Rice was coming out of college versus how he was used last year, Xavier Worthy is better at that part of Rashee Rice's game than he is. He's better in the screen game. He's better after the catch. He's a better athlete. It's almost like they drafted their Rashee Rice again, and Rashee Rice is going to have a different role because Rashee Rice's screen targets were ridiculous behind the line of scrimmage last year. So was Xavier Worthy's at Texas. So pro-style offense. He ran a 4.21. Now he's tied up with the best quarterback in the league. They traded up to get him. 5th wide receiver off the board. They jumped in front of the Bills. They gave up a good amount to go up there, get Xavier Worthy. I think when it's all said and done, 3 years down the road, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy show, and Rashee Rice is going to be that number 2 option there. I just don't think Rashee Rice is like a superior talent where I'm like worried, like, oh shit, like Rashee Rice is there. Like I've always been a guy that's like, yeah, Rice is good, but like he's not elite. He's not gonna. I don't think he's that next level guy. He's like a good 2, like 2, maybe 1B if you look at it like that. But Brian Thomas Jr. too. I mean, he's with that great quarterback, but his situation's a lot more crowded in the long term. If you look at it, like Gabe Davis on a 3-year, $39 million contract. Christian Kirk's there on a contract. Evan Ingram's there on a big contract. You got ETN there. Like, there's more weapons to feed in a worse ran schemed offense there. And I think that Trevor Lawrence isn't like that elite of a quarterback where like 4 guys can eat, even though last year you had Ridley, Kirk, and Ingram all do really well. I just think they're so close. Why not just go with the guy that's tied to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid long-term, better outlook long-term as well. So, and I just think he has a little bit of a higher floor, but I do think Thomas's ceiling's right up there with Worthy, if not higher. So pick your poison. I'm going Worthy as the 4, but I mean, they're 9 and 10 for me. You can't go wrong with either. And if you have Trevor Lawrence or if you have Patrick Mahomes, getting that stack can help sway your opinion as well.
Yeah, for me, like the biggest thing right now I'm looking at is Patrick Mahomes just became somehow more valuable, right? We were talking about buying Mahomes, and now you look at it, they're so smart, right? They last year they knew they had to run the ball a little bit more. They wanted to play with a good defense. They didn't have elite level weapons. Now, they lose their number 1 corner, and they're like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give him more weapons. We're gonna give Patrick Mahomes Hollywood Brown. We're gonna give him Xavier Worthy. We're just going to load it up. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP this season. I think he could throw for 50 touchdowns. No lie. Like, he is going to, if he falls in any of your startups, I've seen him go behind CJ Stroud. Sorry. As much as I love CJ Stroud, that is just not the way to do it. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes are still in a tier by themselves, which, by the way, smash accept 15. I'm on the clock at 104, and CJ Stroud's there. So we're going to see if we get any trade offers by the time. Then we got an Eagles fan in there that took Jalen 3. So he was tugging at my heartstrings trying to go in that area. Couple more risers here, and I love that debate there between Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy. What I've been telling everyone is if you have Lawrence or if you have Mahomes, the stack makes it a clear-cut don't even think about it, right? I think those are the ways that you are separating yourselves. I don't go out of my way. I've seen some people say, should I take Xavier Worthy over Drake May or JJ McCarthy to get the stack? there I say no. Like there I'm in an area where, no, you take the value, like the stack, positional need and a stack are ways to differentiate in the same tier of what you're going to take. They're never the reason that you should tier up, right? They're never the reason where you're like, oh, well, you know what? I have this player. I should go up and do this. Or I don't need Marvin Harrison Jr., so I'm going to take, Jaden Daniels at 2. No.
Nope.
That's not
Trade
the way
back.
you do it. That is not how you do it. And even if you can't trade back, you draft Caleb Williams at 1 and then you trade him later. You draft Marvin Harrison at 2, you trade him later.
Yep.
The guys, there's some other guys that I think are really jumping up draft boards. And I know you and I didn't like this pre-draft process. And I'm starting to look at the tape again because the Buffalo Bills were the dream landing spot, right? As much as Xavier Worthy being tied to Patrick Mahomes is elite, whatever running wide receiver went to the Bills instantly becomes a wide receiver 1 because it's not Shakir and it's not Curtis Samuel. I think Dalton Kincaid's through the roof now and it's going to see a Travis Kelce-esque type ceiling. But Keon Coleman is the guy in Buffalo now. All right, so they moved back off Xavier Worthy. If Xavier Worthy went to the Bills, dude, he's moved way above Brian Thomas for me. And I think Keon Coleman, we have to at least think about it. We didn't love the prospect, but you can't deny the opportunity. He went in the early second round. I believe that he is worth a super flex 201 to 204. But what I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing the Clyde Edwards-Helaire effect. I'm seeing people taking him 107 over Worthy and Brian Thomas. I'm seeing people take him 109 over those guys. I'm seeing people jumping way up in there and just say, hey, trust the landing spot, not the talent. That's not how we do it. I'm not on board with that. But if you take him in the early second, I think you take him over a Pearsall, a Leggett, one of these running backs. I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay taking him all the way up at 8, 9, 10. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that we always looked at, and I was just like the separation, the route running, very raw player, always turned me off. But if you look at his strengths and what he's actually good at, there is no better landing spot than Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills for him. Like, he is a guy that even if he's covered, he'll make the catch. He has some of the best hands and catch radius in this class. He is like a Kenny Golladay ceiling. That was my comp. Kenny Golladay Lions ceiling. Kenny Golladay got Stafford, balled out, and now he left that team and he was junk. Like, that's
but
the
he's
type
got
of player.
that team here now. Keon Coleman's got that. He's
does.
not an elite separator. We know that. His speed's not elite, but his ball skills and his yak ability are right there. You know what I mean? So it's like we weren't in on him. The reason he's a riser for me is you and I both had him as a late second, maybe even an early third type rookie pick, and now you have to at least consider in the early second.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still, you're not giving up I'm looking at him in like that 204 to 206 range. Like,
okay, so I'm a little bit higher there. I got you.
Yeah, I think I'd take Brooks Benson. I'd probably still go with like obvious Lad. And maybe I'd go with Bo Nix and Penix over him at that point if they're there. But I think Keon's like, there's no better landing spot for his skill set. Like, look at how Josh Allen played last year. Gabe Davis, Diggs, like, couldn't come up big for him when he'd put that ball in their relative area and they couldn't make that big contested catch. Like, that's where that's why he wanted Keon Coleman. Josh Allen literally said, I wanted you. I watched many other wideouts. I wanted you. He handpicked them. I bet you he watched his tape and saw all these crazy acrobatic catches through traffic. And Josh Allen's like, that's what I need. Like, that will help me take my game to the next level. It would be 10 times better if they still had Stephon Diggs there, right? Like, if they had Coleman on the other side of Diggs with Kincaid underneath, like, it'll be good. I don't ever see Keon being like an 8 to 10 target per game guy, but like, I think he could have like 1,000 yards, 8 to 10 touchdowns in a season as like an best case outcome. But like the floor, I think is still low. I think there's still a lot of risk there with him in that profile because we've seen plenty of these type of style of quarterbacks. I mean, we saw N'Keal Harry with Tom Brady, right? The only wideout was on that team was Julian Edelman, and the guy busted. Like,
if you
it all comes down to that transit. That's what it comes to. So we need Josh Allen to throw him a lot of mercy balls.
Josh Allen will do that. Tom Brady was not going to do that with N'Keal Harry. So that was one of the dumbest picks ever because I like the talent of him back in the day. You mentioned another wide receiver there who, I wanted the Bills to take. It probably wouldn't have made sense because he's very close to what Shakir and Curtis Samuel were. But Ladd McConkey, belongs in that 110, 111 range. I'm seeing him fall to 201 to 203, and you guys are missing out. We have the new primary target for Justin Herbert, an elite route runner, someone that, he's not Keenan Allen. We would have loved Rome Odunze, right? But they beef up the O-line, getting the best offensive tackle in the draft, supporting Justin Herbert. And then they go and they get him. They go and get Ladd McConkey to go with Palmer and Quentin Johnson. It's not an elite level wide receiver group. That's why we're clearly dropping Justin Herbert down a little bit. But I think Ladd McConkey could get 100 targets his rookie season. Like, I think if he is what we think he is, and I know you and Zoltan have jumped more into the tape of how elite he is as a route runner. If he is that, he will have a better NFL year one than he did in college, where he was last year because of Brock being there. So I'm interested to see where you're at with Ladd McConkey. He rises for me, but again, he was my 108, 19, 110 was Worthy, McConkey, and Brian Thomas, and they're still there, and now they're in a tier, those three guys together. A lot of people are really pressing back and saying, Dad, Keon Coleman belongs in that group, and I'm not quite there yet, but Ladd McConkey, stock up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 9, 10, 11, it's Worthy, Thomas, and Ladd for me. Ladd's a guy that we knew he was that elite route runner, that natural separator. There was no better pick for the Chargers than landing Joe Alt at 5 and then trading up and taking Ladd at the bottom half of the second round. Like, they planned that out perfectly.
Herbert long term, though, right? Because Joe Alt is phenomenal, and he's going to keep him upright, keeping him playing a little bit better, where if you can trade Burrow, I think you can get Herbert in a first for Burrow.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this has created a window. You and I love the talent for Justin Herbert, but this might not be an elite season.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a whole newly built coaching staff. He's got a very deep running back room. And then we see
of garbage. But
there's no better landing spot or pick there for them than Ladd. I mean, they haven't had that super quick 4.39 elite route runner, like easy separator guy for Justin Herbert. I mean, Keenan Allen was, but he didn't have like that versatility and speed that Ladd had. I think he fits perfectly in a room with Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson. Like, if Quentin Johnson can get his head out of his ass and figure things out and be that field stretcher, that bigger body target, and then Josh Palmer comes in as that Walmart Keenan Allen, right? Like that possession, like that, like move the stick type of quarterback or wide receiver. And then, I mean, there's a chance Justin Herbert has 2 all-pro tackles. He already has 1. They just brought in Joe Alt. That's a guy that could be an all-pro left tackle, that Hall of Fame pedigree type of tackle. So, I mean, I think Justin Herbert, we're moving in the right direction for him. Let's just say that.
And they'll probably get an early draft pick next year to take one of these other wide receivers in the 2025 class. You mentioned it. The Chargers needed a running back. The Cowboys needed a running back. The Chargers go and they wait till late and they pick up Vidal. Yep. Cowboys don't draft anyone, and then they go and sign Zeke today. But what I want to talk about is the 2 running backs here who rose in stock. This class is what we thought it was with running backs, right? But 2 guys landed in landing spots that I think for them are phenomenal. Trey Benson now has a clear path to be the RB1 in Arizona in 2025, and he's going to complement James Conner now. James Conner, is getting up there in age. James Conner is still the RB1. But if James Conner goes down to injury, I could see Trey Benson putting up borderline RB1 numbers in Arizona. He's going to be in a great offense. He is, for both of us, has been a top 3 running back throughout the process. And I think he is someone that I would consider 110 to 112. I'm not doing it, but I would consider it. The other guy is Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks coming off he was that got the validation of being drafted in round 2. The clear-cut RB1 of the class if he doesn't have the ACL injury. Now he goes to a team where, obviously, the Carolina Panthers are trying to beef things up for Bryce Young. They don't want to look like idiots, so they go out and they try to make a bunch of moves and get Leggett, get Brooks, get Sanders. Probably not the 3 guys that you and I would have drafted for him, but Jonathan Brooks now is an area where Chuba Hubbard's going to start out. Jonathan Brooks is probably on IR, but the back half of the season, he starts to get more and more looks where you and I talked about him like Kendre Miller, but now he has really no one to beat out. He's going to beat out Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders with ease. So Chuba's that little gap. I actually bought Chuba in a league the other day for 304. Like, he's still going to put up numbers in the early part of the season. and then he'll probably fade into the backup role for Jonathan Brooks. Same with Connor. Connor's now become an area where I think in your rookie draft, you could probably get him for an early third. I would do that because Benson's going to take some time as well. But both of these guys by 2025 will be the RB1s of their team. And I think both of them have risen in value based off that. It's not the Chargers, it's not the Cowboys, but I like both these spots.
I love the draft capital on Brooks. I mean, he profiles as that 3-down receiving back that can hit that upside in fantasy. He's my RB1. I took him 202 in a league the other day. I love that value on him. I mean, it's after the wideouts. Like, I'm not taking him over Ladd, Worthy, Thomas. But then you're getting to the range where it's like, I'll take the running back that went early 40s that the team traded up to get, jumped the Cowboys, jumped the Giants who needed running backs,
and I think
and then took Jonathan Brooks. Yeah, I think they were. So it's a really good spot for Brooks. Benson as well. I mean, good early third-round draft capital to a team with a wide-open room long-term. He's in that tier with the top RB3s in this class. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw Blake Corum in here as well. I mean, everyone seems to be mixed feelings about this situation. He's in the hands of Sean McVay. What does Sean McVay love? Hard workers, guys that are addicted to the weight room, guys that put in work on the field, off the field. They're very coachable players. Blake Corum checks every box in that aspect. And he's literally a bigger, faster, stronger Kyren Williams. So how could you not love that? Take the discount on him. He's literally better than Kyren. He's bigger than Kyren. He's a much better athlete than Kyren was. He's going to be Kyren Williams plus eventually. So why not just take him now when people view him as a backup? I'm already seeing a ton of chatter around that. Why would the Rams use their third-round pick on a running back if they were confident in Kyren Williams to be there? Kyren's got health issues. They don't think he can handle that durability. I mean, the guy scored 14, 15 touchdowns last year. Blake Corum's going to be in that role, and if he does, man, it's over. Like, he is going to absolutely produce in that offense. They had so many other needs, and they took running back with their third pick. They went defense, running back. What does that tell you? They want to run the ball. They want the longevity of Stafford to be healthy. I'm all in on Blake Corum at that value, and you're probably going to get him a lot later than most people.
See, and I think the perception there, he's definitely, as far as the draft goes, as far as how people are going to draft him, he's a faller because he's gone from late first, early second to I'm seeing 208 to 212. You know, I think you're in that area because of Kyren Williams. So depending on which side you are, and that's why we talk about different trade windows, Kyren Williams has gone, you know, maybe from 107 to 109 in the process. I feel like he's in that area, but some people are still all in. You know, and other people paying attention to that. Guys like Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, I think those guys, Braylon Allen, a lot of people were expecting them to go to landing spots that were beneficial for them. They're not big risers because of that. I mean, Jalen Wright is just a lesser version of Devon Achane in the same offense. Marshawn Lloyd, I think, you know, if Josh Jacobs struggles year one, Lloyd could jump into that role because A.J. Dillon, they're going to get rid of his contract. Jacobs is a 1 year. Braylon Allen, he's just going to be a handcuff for Breece Hall. You know what running back I like? Ray Davis. So Ray Davis, late second in your rookie drafts. I think he's risen up in value of being the backup.
What round did he go? Did he go third round? Oh, okay.
I think it was fourth round, but he went to Buffalo. And he's going to be the backup for James Cook. He's going to get some opportunities there, you know. And I know this isn't a big riser. Him and Estime, I think, have found themselves into scenarios. Maybe even Will Shipley, because Will Shipley could easily be the backup to Saquon Barkley in an elite level offense. You know, yeah, he's just got to beat out Kenneth Gainwell. Isaac Guerrero, he has to beat out Elijah Mitchell, and Jordan Mason, but he goes to San Francisco. Bucky Irving drops for me. Tyrone Tracy moves up a little bit because he gets that Giants. None of these guys, like what I say is from 7 to 15, those running backs are now just insurance level running backs. Invest in 2025 because that stock has gone up, Snook. The 2025 running back stock has gone up since the rookie draft is over. As soon as that ends, those are going to go up. We know that. Those are the guys that we want to invest in. Let's talk about some other guys in this draft. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. both go top 12, right? Or top 13. Bo Nix gets an area where I believe he's going to start day one for Denver. Yep. And the best part about this is Troy Franklin, who is a draft faller into some people because they had him as a late first. I saw people getting him early third now because he fell to round 4. Late second, early third. he gets his teammate Troy Franklin, which is an awesome move by Denver, where it's like, all right, we're going to take Bo Nix, but we're going to make him comfortable. We're going to get his wide receiver one. We're going to bring him here, and I think we've seen that work in the past with guys bringing in their comfortable target. I think Bo Nix, who, 40 plus touchdowns, only 5 interceptions last year at Oregon, has an opportunity here in Denver. It's bottom 5 when it comes to weapons. This is you're drafting a quarterback who's, you're going to have to take some lumps. This offense is going to be ugly for a little bit. Just like the offense with, I saw two different people posted things about Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. They're like, Drake May. They're like, drafting Drake May in my rookie drafts is going to feed families. I was like, you're going to have to live off WIC checks for a while because you're not getting fed with either of these guys. But the long-term upside of Nix is pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what it comes down to is Bo Nix really wasn't anything until he got to Oregon, and Troy Franklin was like this good, star wide receiver in college. I mean, the guy put up 1,300 yards last year, 81 plus catches, and 14 touchdowns. Ridiculous year for Troy Franklin. They had that connection. You could argue that Troy Franklin is a big part of Bo Nix's success, right? So, I mean, now you pair them up. I thought Denver was going to trade. I actually tweeted, as soon as Denver traded up in the third round, and now Bo Nix and Troy Franklin are that stack that you want to get in your rookie drafts. It didn't happen that round, and then they did it in round 4. So, I mean, I love this landing spot. Obviously, we don't want to chase round 4 wideouts like they're top 15 assets in rookie drafts, but
there's two guys now there. Troy Franklin and Javon Baker fell, and they kept falling, and they kept falling, and you're like, man, what is happening here, right? Maybe some of the interviews, maybe some of the character flaws, but they get into an area, Snoog, where they both were like, okay, we're out on them for rookie drafts as much as we wanted to be mid-second. Troy Franklin, a lot of people had it even as, if you would have told me Keon Coleman and Troy Franklin flip-flop positions, I would have been like, that made sense. Troy Franklin went in the early second and Keon Coleman went in the 4th, but they didn't. The best part about them is the value that they now have. Javon Baker only has to beat out Jalen Polk and KJ Osborne to be the wide receiver 1 with Drake May. And we have an area here now where it's like Troy Franklin has to beat Cortland Sutton could get traded.
Yeah,
but Troy Franklin's going to start day 1. These guys could be wide receiver 1s that we see drafted in round 4 of the NFL draft. I don't think they're long-term wide receiver 1 options for their team, but they could really be risers after the season starts.
All we got to look at is look at Puka, look at Tank Dell, look at these round 3 to 4 wideouts that just got great. Dontavian Wicks. This is the situations we're looking at. Those guys that were good profiles in college that just had some type of red flag that NFL teams didn't like. They liked other guys better and they slipped a little bit and they landed in that beautiful landing spot. I mean, Downs, Tank Dell, Puka Nacua, Dontavian Wicks. They all had good rookie seasons, all around 3 to 4 picks. So Troy Franklin, Javon Baker were arguably the more talented wideouts in this class after the consensus top 5 to 6 guys. I think if you see them falling into that 3rd round range, you need to trade up and you need to draft them in every single league you're in. It's not hard to get a 3rd round rookie pick. This is the upside you want to take a shot on because they're both tied to those young QBs. Troy played with Bo. Drake May's an elite passer. I mean, there's a perfect scenario where we can just get the steals of our rookie drafts late in that swing on that 3rd round, that 3rd round turn. You might even get lucky and see one of them, maybe Javon Baker 401 or late 3rd round. So I haven't had any rookie drafts get to that range yet, but I'm keeping my eyes peeled. And as soon as I see that Troy Franklin name falling down the boards, I'm going to trade up. I'm going to get him. As soon as I see Javon Baker, I'm going to trade up and I'm going to go get him because they had that yards per out run profile. They had that production. They have that versatile skill set. Javon Baker, I mean, that dude said that he makes people in wheelchairs stand up. So he's got all the confidence in the world, and I have faith in him to come in and just be that guy for the Patriots.
Real quick, I got 2 more guys. I don't know if we can call him a riser. Michael Penix Jr. goes number 8 overall to the Falcons. And if Kirk Cousins didn't get signed, man, Michael Penix Jr. it belongs in that 108 conversation. But he did. They signed Kirk Cousins. He's 24 years old. He's coming off multiple injuries. I mean, this guy is one of the oldest quarterbacks in the draft, one of the most fragile quarterbacks with the injuries that we've seen. We've never seen a quarterback go top 10 and have a quarterback already in place on a massive deal like this, Snoop. So people are asking me, they're like, yo, is Michael Penix Jr., is he a riser? Is he a faller? You know, I think if he went to the Raiders and he was going to start day one, I think he's a riser. I think right now he's going to fall, and you and I were talking about this a little bit before, is like a late second guy that you're going to have to sit behind like a Jordan Love, like a Jalen Hurts, where he's going to have to sit there. He doesn't have the ceiling of those guys, though. He has a high floor, right? I comped him to like a Tua light, and I know that feels kind of cheap because he's left-handed and, you know, not super mobile. But I mean, like, that's what you're looking at here.
Same style of play.
Where are you taking Michael Penix Jr.? And, you know, like, if you get to that late second, do you want him, or do you want to take some of these shots on other wide receivers like a Roman Wilson or a Jermaine Burton, or do you want to take a shot on a tight end like Ben Sinnott? Or where are you comfortable taking Michael Penix Jr.? Because if Cousins goes down to a major injury, Penix would be worth a first immediately. Like he's Hendon Hooker, but good. You know, like he's Hendon Hooker, but he's going to start because of the draft capital.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at what the Falcons have, like they have that elite offensive line. They got two all-pro guys on there. They got Lindstrom, the all-pro guard. They got Jake Matthews. They got Bijan and Tyler Algier. I mean, that running back room is loaded out the gills. And then they got Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Kyle Pitts. Mm-hmm. If you're a quarterback in this situation and you're not good, you're really bad. And I mean, I wasn't a big Penix guy at all. I didn't think he was a great prospect. I didn't think he was a great QB. They had faith in him. They traded up. They took him 8. His situation is so up in the air. Like, we don't know if he's playing year 1. We don't know if he's playing till year 3. We don't know what Kirk Cousins is post Achilles injury. I'm so comfortable just taking him in that like 206, 205 to 208 range. I mean, like after Pearsall, Coleman, Brooks, Benson, Corum, like that's where I'm getting there. Like right there with Penix. Maybe Leggette's right there with him, but it's like, I think he's like a Geno Smith type of quarterback. Maybe it's like Geno, maybe like a bad, like a Jared Goff light, but it's like, if you can get me 4,000 yards and like 25 touchdown passes and just be a good, like top 15 QB, I mean, it's worth that mid second round pick all day. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw Aiden O'Connell start. Like, we don't know anything anymore. And I'm done trying to play guessing game with the quarterbacks. Like, we saw like 15 quarterbacks that shouldn't have started last year. Like, that's just the league we play in now. Like, shit happens, injuries happen. Penix is in the best case scenario for him. Like, he gets to sit behind a guy he plays like for a little bit. I mean, he's an older veteran quarterback already, 23 years old, coming into the league, coming off a great run in Washington. This is a guy, I mean, I said, I probably have like 50 tweets on my Twitter that I said, don't touch Michael Penix in drafts. He's not good. I don't want him, blah, blah, blah. Now he's going to become a value, right? Like, I just saw him go 208 in the league. Like, I mean, what the hell is the 208?
Yeah,
like that's a dart throw. Why not just get a first round QB that went top 8?
Because the day he starts, he's worth a first. Because the day he starts is he's taking over for Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. You know, like, yeah, they paid Kirk Cousins, and I got to look into the contract. Maybe they can get out of it earlier. You know what I mean? I have not dug into that. But the fact that the Falcons are going to Falcon, they're going to do their thing. But I think this is a big upgrade from what we saw from like Desmond Ridder. I think he is a guy that if he jumps in there, will put up serviceable QB2 numbers with an occasional, you know, like Tua light. Tua can put up QB7 to 12 numbers. I think Penix can put up QB 12 to 18 numbers on a regular basis with this offense. I don't love the player, but I love the situation if he starts. Another guy, and you kind of turned me on to him, Ben Sinnott, gets second round draft capital, goes to the Commanders. He's going to learn from Zach Ertz. You know, the ghost of Zach Ertz is still there, but who better to learn from at the position? I think he's going to be a steal in the late second, especially in your 0.75 tight end premium. Another guy that I think rose up the draft board. One other guy I wanted to talk about is I think Roman Wilson's going to move up. You know, the Steelers do not miss second round rookie picks. Like, he is a wide receiver that I think George Pickens is to the moon now, but I think Roman Wilson is going to be in there, fill in real nicely. Him, Jermaine Burton, Xavier Legette, Ricky Purcell. I think all those guys get a little bit of a bump, a little bit of shot in the arm with the draft capital and their opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Sinnott is just, it feels good to have him tight end too. Like, everyone was on the JT Sanders wave. I didn't see it with JT Sanders, but JT Sanders did get the one landing spot where I was like, ooh, okay. Like, he played with Bryce Young at Bama. There you go. Like, that's the spot for him. But Ben Sinnott, or tight end 2 for me. I mean, shout out David Gutierrez. He said two tight ends since like 2006 to jump a 40+ inch vertical at 250 pounds and get drafted in the first 3 rounds. It was Ben Sinnott and Vernon Davis. So, I mean, that feels good for Ben Sinnott, especially with the draft capital round 2 to the Commanders. I mean, it's just a great spot for him. That good safety blanket for Jane Daniels, and there's not much competition for him really there. I mean, it's going to be like Terry, Dotson, and then it's going to be him and Eckler out of that like backfield in that screen game. So I really love the landing spot for him. And I mean, I haven't seen where he's gone in rookie drafts yet, but I'm assuming you might be able to get him in like that early 3rd round range in some drafts, or that like late 2nd range. I like that value. I like that type of like draft capital and that cheap tight end dart throw that you can throw on the tight end 2 in this class.
So many risers, so many opportunities. Snook and I are going to bring you multiple podcasts this week. We're going to bring you some YouTube-only content. We're going to really try to put you guys in position to absolutely smash your drafts. No better place than to do that in the Smash Accept Patreon with Snoog's rankings, my rankings. I updated my top 48 Superflex, my top 36 one quarterback. I know you're in the process of doing that as well because there's a lot to digest. Today, honestly, on my birthday, I'm like, yo, what am I going to do? I'm going to update my top 250. I'm doing all the guys. All the rookies are going to be ranked in there. You're going to have your Superflex startup ready to roll. You're going to have your rookie draft as well as alternatives. You're going to say, well, I'm at the 107. Doesn't mean it has to be the 107. It could be this or that, and you're going to be able to read that really easy in the room. You get access to Snoog, access to myself. Right now, there are with 300 people in there talking shop. We have 12 rookie rooms right now that are just, people are chiming in. They're like, I got this guy here. I got that guy here. This is the trade I made to get to 103. What better way to find out how to make trades than to listen to trades that are getting done? We're creating a community of mini Twitter, right? We're creating a group where you don't have to listen to all the extra noise. You get our content and you talk to other people. And Snoog, I think I had 3 guys message me today say, I no longer go on Twitter because Smash Accept Patreon is where I go. You're bringing content, Snoog's bringing content, and we're all just talking here. So I don't have to get this extraneous information where Joe's telling me there's breaking news that the Jets got new uniforms, or, we're talking about this guy. We don't give you the fluff. We give you the stuff you need to smash.
The meat and potatoes, baby. That's right. What we do.
One quick trade here. I got one trade here before we close out because To Your Problems just reached out. Guys, YouTube, check us out. Where obviously you can follow all of our content there, and on Twitter, we like to live stream. To Your Problem says, am I crazy to take Marv at 101 if I also have the 104 and no, I'll get Jaden? Yeah,
you are crazy. Yep. Take Caleb 101, use that 104 to get up to 103 and take Malik Neighbors, or use that 104, trade back to 106 and take Rome Odunze. I would do all of that before you make that 101 pick. So I would go to the 103 guy and I'd go to the 106 guy and talk about business with them, try to get that second on top of the 104 to go back to 6 and try to add maybe a second, or maybe add like a pair of thirds to go up a spot.
Right on. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process. Dude, I was like, let's make it a half hour.